back with another video, folks, and wow, what a night last night. I got a lot off my chest and did another reminder how I collect the HO scale and O scale items of HO scale I'm the most fan of, and then O scale I'm also a fan of, but not as big of an O scale fan as I am with HO scale. And with both those scales, how I collect the Thomas items I do not yet have that do count that are discontinued, currently on sale and coming out in the future. But with O scale Lionel, it's a little bit different when it comes to like coming out in the future, because I don't know if Lionel is gonna make any more Thomas product and items for O scale. We'll just have to see what happens down the road. So yeah, besides doing that, getting that off my chest, I still also collect the other HO scale items that are not Thomas related, and the HO scale items I do not collect are Chuggington, and HO scale items I do not collect as well are like the Thomas Bachman items in HO scale that do not count for my collection, as I already somewhat like have the items though and everything, and now why get something else that I already have. So yeah. And O scale though, since I'm more of a HO fan than I am with O scale I more only collect I only in O scale I only collect the Thomas items that I do not yet have yet that do count for my collection of O scale, my Thomas collection of O scale. The ones that are discontinued, currently on sale, possibly coming out in the future, which I'd like to see Lionel make some more box cars for the Thomas product of O scale. So yeah. So yeah, those ones I'm still collecting for so I'm still collecting the O scale collection of Thomas and Friends, as I already have all five of the remote sets to it. So basically so I still have to collect the ones in Thomas and Friends O scale that are discontinued, currently on sale, and possibly coming out in the future. The ones that do count for my Thomas collection that I do not yet have yet. So yeah, hopefully I get those two. And what I do not collect in O scale, everything else in O scale I do not collect. So in O scale I do not collect any not related Thomas trains, and even though I have some not related Thomas trains that I do own, it doesn't mean I'm gonna be getting them. So basically, yeah. So the not related Thomas trains that I have, those I gotten from like friends and like family and all that. But yeah, so basically, what was I gonna say? Then yeah, so I do not collect any I do not collect any not related Thomas trains. That's not Thomas related in O scale. And same thing, I do not collect Chuggington in O scale. And there's a few Thomas O scale items as well, folks, that I do not collect, and the reason is because that those ones do not count to add to my collection, due to the fact that I already like they have the items similar to what I already have for my Thomas collection. And yeah, you know the deal with that. It's the same reasoning for HO scale, and same thing with like O scale for like both scales of Thomas and Friends collection of mine. So yeah. But however, yeah, so now that I got all those off my chest, however, um the only not related Thomas item I'm trying to find is this Amtrak 2-pack set by Rail King that comes with an Amfleet coach and an Amfleet Cafe car. So I can match it with my 4 Amfleet cars and P42 engine of O scale that my dad got me years ago. That's the only not related Thomas item I'm trying to find is that Amtrak 2-pack set that comes with the Amfleet coach and the Amfleet Cafe. That's the only one not related Thomas item I'm trying to find, is that one. And hopefully I get it though, because it is discontinued. So hopefully I find myself that one day. So yeah, now that I got and then after I get that one, then yeah, I'm pretty much done collecting I'm pretty much gonna stop like collecting non-related Thomas trains in O scale and just keep collecting my Thomas collection of O scale. So yeah, and yeah, so now that I got that off my chest and everything, but then again though, like, but here's how it could go, folks, is I could either, the way it could go is that when it comes to like HO scale and O scale, my Thomas collection, that here's a few things how it could go. So let's say an HO scale. This is for my Thomas collection, all right? So an HO scale, let's say an HO scale, my so an HO scale, folks, for Thomas and Friends, let's say if I find all the items, basically, like, because obviously the discontinued items are going to be the only ones hard to find in both scales of Thomas and Friends. So here's how it could go. For example, I know I did say last night that that I really want to collect all the discontinued, currently on sale and coming out in the future items of Thomas and Friends for both HO scale and O scale, Lionel and Bachman. That I would really, I really, the goal is to have every single collection of a like, item in my collection, so I could say that I have every single one that I owe. But just not the, but just there's, but just the Thomas items in HO scale and O scale. The ones that do not count, I almost thought, maybe I could get those ones as well, but no, guys, it's not worth it though. Honestly, because I pretty much they have items like similar to it and everything though, so that's why those Thomas items of HO scale, O scale, the ones that do not count, that's why those ones do not count, because they're already similar to what I already have. So yeah, so so the ones that do not count, I'm not getting for Thomas, but most of the ones that I'm getting are the ones that I already do not yet have. So let's say for example, so if I find all Thomas and Friends Bachman HO scale items that are currently on sale and coming out in the future, rather I have, once I have collected the entire collection, every single item out there that's currently on sale and coming out in the future for HO scale Thomas and Friends. Let's say if I just find them like that though, or if I find all Thomas O scale items that are currently on sale and possibly coming out in the future, or if I find both HO scale and O scale items of Thomas and Friends that are coming out in the future, Lionel O scale possibly, and currently on sale for both HO scale and O scale of Thomas and Friends. If I find every single item in both those scales that are currently on sale and coming out in the future, that'll be a celebration, right? They're a bigger one. Or even if I just find like the currently on sale and coming out in the future items of just HO scale Thomas only of Bachman, or if it's the opposite, that I find them in like O scale of Thomas and Friends currently on sale and possibly coming out in the future, if any of like Lionel makes any more product for Thomas, like boxcars, that it'll still be a celebration right there. But hopefully I could find both of them, because if I find them all on both scales, that'll be a bigger celebration, like I just mentioned a few moments ago. But now if I find the discontinued items, but the discontinued items are going to be the harder ones to find. Now if I find say that I have all the currently on sale items and the items coming out in the future, in like the further time future, say I have collected every single item in HO scale Bachman of Thomas and Friends, and same with O scale Lionel Thomas and Friends. Say I've collected every single item of those that's currently on sale and coming out in the future for both scales, that'll still be a celebration right there. So if I collect them all like that and it ends up being that way, now say if I end up finding all the discontinued items of Thomas and Friends in HO scale only or O scale only, that'll still be a big celebration right there. But if I find all the discontinued items in both HO scale and O scale Thomas and Friends, that'll be even a bigger celebration right there. So then that way I can say that I have every single item in my Thomas and Friends collection for model trains of like HO scale and O scale. And yeah, so now that I got that up, but yeah, I really want that to happen, folks. I really want every single piece of like the Thomas and Friends items in HO scale, Bachmann, and O scale. I know I want to collect them all, and I would really like to have every single one in my collection that there is out there. And yeah, because I do have it on my list and all that though, that you guys seen in my other videos that I put out there, but as ones that I do not yet have, because I'm keeping it, because I'm tracking it down, folks. I'm like tracking it down of the ones that I do not yet have. So what else? You know, because yeah, I just don't know, folks. Maybe there are some other Thomas items out there in O scale and HO scale that I do not know of though. If I'm like missing any more items out there that I forgot to put down on the list as ones that I do not yet have. Maybe there's some out there, I don't know. But yeah, but usually if I end up finding an item that I forgot to put down that's not on my list, if it's an HO scale or O scale, and if I feel like that it counts though, then I put it on my list. But if it doesn't count, then I just either just like not put it down at all, just like squirrel past it, just like forget about it, don't even bother with it, or maybe I just put it on my don't count list, as it's an item that doesn't count for either scale. So yeah, now that I got that off all my chest, folks, that basically, and still like the Hornby collection, me collecting the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, that's still a no though, because I told you guys too that if I was to collect the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, which is also HO scale, that you guys would think that I would be collecting the entire Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, like Thomas, Percy, James, and them characters that are already made in Bachmann as well and Hornby at the same time. But when it comes to like some other characters that were made in Hornby but not by Bachmann, because there are characters such as Dart, Murdoch, Stephanie, Flying Scotsman, D261, Old Slow Coach, and some other characters like that. Yeah, characters like Stephanie, Dart, Murdoch, and Flying Scotsman and them. Like those characters were made by Hornby, but they were not made by Bachmann. So that's what I mean, folks, is that, and honestly though, I mean, actually, yeah, because no, plus though too, I honestly I prefer Bachmann, folks. I mean, the Hornby does look cool and everything. The Thomas, Percy, and like James of Hornby, they look cool and everything, but I prefer the Bachmann in my opinion, because the Bachmann, I more grew up with the Bachmann. So yeah, I rather stick with Bachmann. But however, however, if I ever start collecting the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, folks, that the only characters out of that Thomas and Friends Hornby collection that I'm gonna be collecting will be the characters such as Dart, Murdoch, and other characters that were made by Hornby but not made by Bachmann. Only those Thomas and Friends Hornby characters of the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection I'm gonna be collecting is only Dart, Stephanie, Flying Scotsman, D261, Murdoch, characters like that were only made in Hornby but they were not made by Bachman. That's why when I say that if I ever collect a Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, a Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, that those are the only characters that I'm gonna be collecting, are those ones such as Murdoch, Dart, Stephanie, and them, because those are characters that Hornby made, but Bachman never made those characters at all. So yeah, that's why I'm only using Thomas and Friends Hornby, just to collect those characters, the characters that were not made by Bachman at all, but were made in Hornby. So yeah, that's the only reason why I'm using Hornby, is only for that reason though. And I feel like why not? Those characters, I feel, even though they're in Hornby, that those characters deserve to be in my Bachman collection. But no, folks. For now, that answer remains a no, because yeah, I don't want to risk them. I don't want to risk the Hornby run on my Easy Track though, even though I've seen it on YouTube. But I just don't want to take a chance. And but possibly when I start my future HO N scale layout, yeah, basically I think they'll be able to run on the glue down track, because my future HO N scale layout is going to be both like the glue down track. So I think that type of track they'll be able to run on. So that's why I'm going to wait till I start my future HO N scale layout to see what happens. But for now, it remains a no. And yes, let me remind you guys one more time, so I never have to say it again, that yes. So basically, you guys would think that if I ever do collect the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, that I would be collecting and wanting to be collecting the whole entire Thomas and Friends Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends Hornby, just like I'm in the middle of like doing with the Bachman Thomas HO scale and the Lionel O scale of Thomas. But no, that's not the case though, because since I'm more into Bachman and grew up with Bachman more, that I'm going to continue with Bachman always. And you guys know the deal with that, how I just explained it. But as for the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, that yes, if I ever decide to collect the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, that the only Thomas items out of the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection that I'm going to be collecting will be the characters that were made by Hornby, but they just were never made by Bachman, because Bachman never made those characters. So yeah, that's the only reason why I might collect the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, is only because that the only characters I'm going to be collecting in the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection, if I ever start collecting it, will only be the characters that were made in Hornby but not by Bachman, such as Dart, Stephanie, like Murdoch and them. And yeah, because I would have to think that maybe Bachman would make a Dart NHL scale. Maybe I would think that they would make a Dart, because I know they made an Oliver. I know that Hornby made an Oliver in their Hornby. They know, like, Hornby made an Oliver, and then years later Bachman made an Oliver. So hopefully, maybe I would have to think maybe they'll do that with Dart though, like they made like Hornby made Dart. Yeah, Hornby made Dart years ago, and maybe years later Bachman will start making Dart in HO scale. You just never know, folks. But I don't think it'll ever happen though. But you just never know. But for now though, that yeah. But basically though, so me getting into the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends Hornby. So yeah, me getting into the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends Hornby. That if I get into it, that just so you guys know, if I get into it, the only characters and items, whatever you want to call it, out of that Thomas and Friends Hornby collection. The only characters, items I'm gonna be collecting out of that will be only the Thomas Hornby characters that were made in Hornby, such as like you got Dart, Murdoch, Stephanie, D261, and some other characters. But basically, I named 4 of those characters. So yeah, you got those characters like Stephanie, Dart, Murdoch, and them. Yeah, you got basically. I'll say it like this. I'll name 3 of them. So you got Stephanie, Murdoch, and Dart that were made in Hornby, but they were not made by Bachman. So you got 3 of those characters right there that were made in Hornby and not by Bachman. Because I have a whole list that I also posted on my YouTube channel too, of like Thomas and Friends Hornby characters that were made by Hornby. That all of them were not made by Bachman, of the ones that I put out on my YouTube channel. So yeah. But for now, folks, that remains a no. That remains a no to this day until I have my future HO and scale layout going. Because if I ever get into the Thomas and Friends, if I ever get into the Hornby collection of Thomas and Friends, folks, that you guys know the deal. That if I ever do get into Thomas and Friends Hornby, that the only items out of that whole entire Thomas and Friends Hornby collection I will be collecting are only the items and the characters that were made by Hornby, but they were never made by Bachman. Even though they run on HL Scale Track. So yeah, that's the only reason why. And plus and because I want those characters to be, because I feel like too that it doesn't matter if Bachman, because it doesn't matter if separate HL scale companies made different characters of Thomas and Friends and didn't make this and didn't say I mean, because I know there are some companies, there are HL companies that have made the same characters, and some have made different characters and some didn't. Just like Bachman and Hornby, that Bachman and Hornby at the same time made both Gordon, Percy, Thomas, James, Henry, Emily, Diesel, Oliver, in both Hornby and Bachman. And in Hornby, Hornby made Thomas characters such as Dart, Murdoch, and Stephanie in HO scale, where Bachman did not make those characters that I just mentioned. But now characters that Bachman made, such as Rebecca, Daisy, and let's see who else, Ryan. So yeah, Bachman made characters such as Bachman has made characters such as Rebecca right there, Daisy, and Ryan, that Hornby did not make those characters at all. So yeah, that's what I mean right there, folks. And that's what I mean now by collecting the entire Thomas and Friends collection of Hornby. Thomas and Friends Hornby collection. That the only characters out of the entire Thomas and Friends Hornby collection I will be collecting are only the characters that were only made by Hornby, but not by Bachman. Because I would really like to have those ones from Hornby, made by Hornby, that were not made by Bachman in my Bachman collection of Thomas and Friends. Because yeah, I would like for them to like join the team and everything, this entire collection. So yeah, but for now, folks, that remains a no until I start my future HO and N scale layout. That's going to be the glue down trick. So yeah, that remains a no to this day. And two, yeah, so now that I got that off my chest, yeah, so yeah, as I still collect, you guys know the deal, the whole entire Thomas collection, the ones that do count for HO scale and O scale of Thomas and Friends that's discontinued, currently on sale, coming out in the future. And again, hopefully I can find all the items though, because I did say last night that if I end up not being able to find all the items that I want to find, which I think it's mostly going to be the harder ones to find, the discontinued ones, that for both scales, that if I end up not being able to find all the items that I want to though, because I want the entire collection, all the items of Thomas and Friends and HO scale and O scale, Bachman and Lionel. If I end up not being able to find all of them, then honestly, like, that's okay by me though, because I'm already getting into like HO narrow gauge and N scale of Thomas and Friends. But yeah, but still though, it's always still going to be the goal to find every single item in HO scale and O scale of Thomas and Friends. The items that do count, because the items that do not count, I won't be collecting, as I already somewhat have them. It's pretty much the same thing. So yeah, so now that I got that off my chest, yeah, so as I continue to like do that with the Thomas HO scale and everything, and O scale of Thomas, that so basically with the HO narrow gauge, which is the other, I mean, it's considered HO scale, but it's considered like HO scale because it's under HO scale, but they call it HO scale narrow gauge, but basically I call it HO narrow gauge. So the HO narrow gauge Thomas collection is Skarloey, Rheneas, Peter, Sam, that whole entire collection right there. So yeah, so I posted it last night that yeah, so I'm ready to go, and yeah, that the goal is that now I'm gonna say this other announcement though. So my other announcement is that yeah, like, this is still continuing. This is not going anywhere. You guys already know the deal. And what else? And yeah, same with me collecting non-related Thomas trains in HO scale, and me not collecting any more not related Thomas trains in O scale. That but in O scale, the only, yeah, I'll say it like this, yeah, like in HO scale, so as I still continue to collect the Thomas collection that I do not yet have in HO scale and O scale of Thomas and Friends, Bachman and Lionel, as I continue that legacy still, because the goal is still to find all those items that hopefully, yeah, I can find all those items. So as I still continue to do that for HO scale as well, I'm going to continue my heart out, like collecting some non-Thomas items in HO scale that I'm interested in. And I'm still not going to collect Chuggington in HO scale. And same with not collecting the Thomas items that do not count in HO scale Bachman as well. So in O scale though, yeah, O scale, it goes with the same thing though, and me collecting the Thomas items that I do not yet have that are just continued currently on sale, possibly coming out in the future if that's the case. O scale, I'm going to continue that legacy because I still want to find all those items in O scale too of Thomas and Friends. That in O scale that I'm not going to be collecting any not related Thomas trains. Yeah, I will not be collecting any not related Thomas trains in O scale, folks, since I'm more of an HO fan. And yeah, that means I'm not collecting any not related Thomas trains in O scale that are like this. Basically all not related Thomas trains in O scale I'm not collecting. All not related Thomas trains in O scale I am not collecting in O scale. And yeah, Chuggington in O scale, that was a limited edition years ago. That I'm not collecting. And the Thomas items that do not count in O scale, I'm not collecting those as well, as I already somewhat have them. You guys know the deal. So yeah, but the only not related Thomas item I'm trying to find still in O scale is that Amtrak 2-pack set that comes with the Ampli Coach and Ampli Cafe car, so I can match it with my other Amtrak cars, Ampli cars, and all that. So yeah, I can make it into a 6-car Empire service train. Yeah, so basically, so all that I mentioned, as I continue that, yeah, all that's going to continue. So all that I mentioned there, what I'm going to do with HO and O scale, that all of that I'm going to continue right there. And yeah, but with O scale though, once I have collected every single Thomas item in O scale to complete my O scale collection of Thomas and Friends, you just don't know me, folks. I might change my mind. I might start collecting some not related Thomas trains after I have collected my whole entire collection of O scale Thomas and Friends that do count. You just don't know me that once I have done that I might start collecting some non-related Thomas trains, but for now I'm not doing that. It remains a no, as I'm more of an HO fan, because I'm probably still not going to collect the not related Thomas trains in O scale, because the only not related Thomas train I'm trying to find in O scale is the Amtrak one that I just mentioned. So yeah. And yeah, so as I continue all that, what I just mentioned, what I'm doing in HO scale and O scale with those legacies, all those legacies that I mentioned, I'm still going to continue. But as I continue all that, the Thomas and Friends Hornby collection of only collecting the Hornby Thomas characters that were only made by Hornby but not by Bachman, such as Stephanie and them, Murdoch, Dart, characters like that were made in Hornby but not by Bachman. Those are the only Hornby characters of Thomas that I'm gonna be collecting if I ever decide to collect the Hornby collection. So yeah, but that's still a no until further notice. I might change my mind, but you just don't know, folks. And also, those are discontinued, by the way, and I know they're pretty hard to find now. If people sell them on eBay, they're mostly selling them for like a lot of money though. So yeah. But for now, yeah, that still remains a no to this day, folks. But I could change my mind. You just never know. But I'll let you guys know if I ever do. But that probably won't be until my future HON scale layout with the glue down track is going to be finished. So it probably won't be till then, though. But you never know. I could change my mind. So now that I got that off my chest, now I can get to N scale. So N scale and HO narrow gauge, So basically, yeah, so as I'm ready to go to collect the entire Thomas and Friends HO narrow gauge collection of Skarloey in them, that whole entire collection of Skarloey, Rheneas, and Peter Sam in them, that whole entire collection, I got that on my list that I posted yesterday. Yeah, I'm ready to go with that. So yeah, so basically, I'm still shocked though that I never knew that the HO narrow gauge, such as Skarloey and them, run on N scale track, and that's what just gave me the idea to, you know what, I might as well start collecting might as well start collecting the entire N scale Thomas and Friends Bachman collection as well, if that's the case. So yeah, I got that on my list too. The N scale Bachman collection of Thomas and Friends, I got that on my list too. And yeah, I also posted yesterday. So so that's gonna be fun to collect too. And basically, folks, so with the HO narrow gauge, with the HO narrow gauge with the Thomas HO narrow gauge collection with the Thomas and Friends HO narrow gauge collection of Skarloey, Rheneas and them, that whole entire HO narrow gauge collection of Skarloey and them, that all those items in that scale of those Thomas characters of Skarloey and them, once I have collected that whole entire collection right there that I posted the list of all the ones that are out there on my YouTube channel yesterday, and the same thing goes with the N-scale Thomas and Friends collection as well for Bachman N-scale as well, that once I have collected all of those items as well, that whole entire Thomas N-scale Bachman collection of Thomas N-scale in the Bachman brand, that once I have collected all of those too as well, that whole entire collection as well, once I have collected both of the entire collections, then I'm probably gonna start collecting some non-related Thomas items in N-scale, because some N-scale items in N-scale that's not Thomas related, I want to collect some Amtrak Viewliners and all that, making this like a Silver Meteor train and all that, something like that. But yeah, it's gonna be fun and everything. But yeah, I'm not gonna get the non-related Thomas items just yet in N-scale though, because I'd rather wait until I have all the Thomas items in HO narrow gauge of Skarloey and them, that whole entire collection. Once I have that whole entire collection of that, and same thing with the entire N-scale Bachman Thomas and Friends collection as well. Once I have all those items too, that whole entire collection. So basically, once I have both those entire collections of those, and same thing, like once I have those, then I'll possibly start collecting the non-related Thomas items in N-scale, because I really want to get some Amtrak stuff in N-scale. And two, since my uncle's getting into the N-scale as well with me, because he said that he always wanted to get into N-scale if he gets into model trains. So yeah, he's gonna like definitely get into it with me. So yeah, that's gonna be cool and everything, and I just can't wait, folks. I'm really excited. And so basically, 2025 is gonna be a big year, and the only thing that's gonna be, and also to the I did see there are some like N-scale companies, like I think Tomex used to make Thomas and Friends N-scale long before N-scale, like the Tomex brand used to make Thomas and Friends N-scale items long before Bachman ever did make N-scale of Thomas and Friends. That basically, like, I've seen videos of those ones though, but no, guys, honestly, folks, that I'm not gonna be going after, like, I'm not gonna be collecting I'm not gonna be going after, like, trying to collect the entire Tomex collection of their Thomas and Friends N-scale items. Like I'm not gonna do it like that. No. Because even though there are some characters and like items that were made by the Tomex brand in N-scale but not by Bachman yet, that definitely remains a bigger no. That definitely remains a bigger no for sure. That I'm not gonna be doing that. That the rule is basically for myself is that once I get into Thomas and Friends HO narrow gauge and N-scale, that once I start collecting the Thomas items in HO narrow gauge and N-scale, as they both run on N-scale track, that I'm only sticking with the Bachman product. since I'm more grew up with the Bachmann product. And the Tumex brand, anything in the Tumex brand of N scale Thomas, I will not be collecting at all. Not even a single item out of it, I will not be collecting. So yeah, and for large scale, folks, I will not. I'm still not collecting the entire large scale collection of Thomas and Friends Bachmann as well. I'm still not going to be collecting that because A, it's just like too expensive, and B, I'm not interested in large scale at all. So that's probably going to be the only scale. That's definitely going to be the only scale that I'm not going to be collecting at all. But however, I could change my mind in the next 10 or 20 years from now, folks. I could change my mind and want to collect the large scale collection of Thomas and Friends, just so I can say that now by then will have all the scales of like Thomas and Friends model trains that are made in like the scales that are made in. But for now it remains to know that I'm not getting into the large scale at all. Yeah, no, I'm just not getting into the large scale at all. I'm not having it. So basically the large scale will be the only one left out of the equation. The only scale will be left out of the equation will be the large scale. G scale, whatever you call it. Some people call it G scale, some people call it large scale. So yeah, that's going to be the only scale that's going to be left out of the equation is large scale. And I do see too that there are some. So since I have the Polar Express battery operated set, which I think that's like a G scale, I would have to think though, or it's in the middle of like O scale and G scale, large scale, whatever you call it. That since I have the battery operated Polar Express set that fits on that black track, but I think it's a G scale. I don't know, but it's like those battery operated toy trains that I have that I put underneath my Christmas tree every single year. But yeah, because I did see too that there is a G scale Thomas and Friends battery operated set that I do see that there is a battery operated Thomas and Friends set that I think it's in G scale, I think, but I think Lionel produced it. I don't know. I think they did. I think it's a G scale set. I don't know, but I know it's a toy train for sure. That Thomas set. But whatever that is, though, is on that Thomas set, like I will not be collecting, folks. That I will not be collecting. So anything of like Thomas battery operated toy train sets, I will not be collecting as I am getting older. So yeah. And same thing with like the All Engines Go set. That anything All Engines Go, folks, I'm not collecting. Whether it's a Trackmaster train, a movie, like a DVD disc, what else? The wooden railway of All Engines Go. Or if All Engines Go was to ever be made in Bachmann, I will not be doing that. I will not be collecting All Engines Go in HO scale, and in O scale I will not be collecting All Engines Go in O scale as well. So that's what I mean, folks. Like anything All Engines Go, whether it's an HO scale, O scale, a DVD, merchandise, Trackmaster trains, wooden railway trains, anything of All Engines Go, I do not consider it, as it does not count. That I will not be added onto my collection at all. But however, I did see that there is already a battery operated All Engines Go set of Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle All Engines Go that Lionel already made, and it comes in its like own black track and everything, like a figure eight. But I also saw too that it runs on Lionel Fast Track, like this Lionel Fast Track right here that it also runs on too. That All Engines Go set. So, and still though, that I'm not getting that at all, folks. I'm still not collecting that All Engines Go set at all. I will not be collecting that. Even if Lionel makes a more Thomas All Engines Go set, like a Diesel and Percy, and All Engines Go for like whether it's like a battery operated set or if they make an actual O scale All Engines Go set that actually runs on Fast Track, that no, I'm either way, I'm still not collecting anything All Engines Go. And also too, like other battery operated sets that are like the toy trains, whether it's like other toy trains or Thomas toy trains that do take battery, but they run on like their different type of track though. That basically like Thomas sets that are like that, like my Polar Express Lionel battery set over there that I put underneath my Christmas tree every year. That Thomas sets like that though. That are like the toy trains and everything. Like those type of Thomas sets I will not be collecting though. Because I continue because I continue to collect um like all of what I said though, now that I'm all of this though, and now getting into like N scale, which also that's not N scale by the way, no, but this is a set that my grandma got my grandpa years ago to put in his middle of his HO layout that he used to have. So yeah. So if I ever so basically so other like Thomas and Friends sets. So yeah, other Thomas and Friends battery operated toy train sets that that basically are like the softer like items, basically the toy items I'll say. Like whether it's made by Lionel or like other companies that I'm not gonna be collecting at all, because I did see that there was a battery operated set, a toy train set of Thomas the Train that was made in G scale, I think in 2019 or 2020, I think it was. That it wasn't All Engines Go, but it looked cool and everything, but I was still not gonna be collecting it at all. Because those ones are more for like the ones, yeah, those ones are more for like the kids and all that. But now that I'm like older and everything, that that I'm just rather save my money and just keep collecting what I'm used to like collecting. Like all of this right here and what I just like they kept like mentioning too, and I don't have to mention again. So yeah. And basically that goes with any battery operated toy train set, folks. Whether it's a Thomas one, a not related Thomas one, or an All Engines Go Thomas, that anything of those I'm pretty much done collecting, because if I'm not gonna collect those, then that means I'm done collecting the wooden railway sets too. As I have been done collecting the wooden railway sets for years. And same with the Trackmaster ones. So yeah. So yeah, I now got all that off my chest though, and yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, and yeah, I just can't wait, folks. 2025, this year is going to be the biggest year yet of me with all like these Thomas and Friends items and everything. It's gonna be amazing. I cannot wait. And yeah, this is just gonna be awesome though. I cannot wait. I'm really, really excited. And yeah, also too, yeah, January 15th is gonna be a big day 6 days from today. Wednesday, January 15th is gonna be a big day for all us Thomas fans and for Train World and Bachman. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to because there's gonna be multiple releases coming out that day. You got the Emily's Passenger set that's coming out that day in N scale, Stanley and HO scale, and then you got some other Thomas items that are in HO narrow gauge of the Skarloey collection, the Rheneas in them, that also do run on N scale track, that are coming out that day too, I believe. Yeah, no, I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of releases out that day of January 15th. And yeah, the only scale I did not check though was the large scale G scale. That was the only one I did not check because I'm just not interested in the large scale at all. Even though my grandpa does own and still does have his a large scale G scale set, whatever you call it, from the 1930s or 40s that he still owns. It's an old school steam engine with a cold tender, a big box car, and one short red caboose car. It's definitely like a large scale G scale. That some people call it G scale, some people call it large scale. That it's definitely a large scale set. Even though he has that, it doesn't mean that I want to get myself into the large scale collection of Thomas and Friends as well. Because if I get into the large scale collection of Thomas and Friends, folks, that'll mean that I will be collecting the entire large scale collection of Thomas and Friends as well. Since I am a big Thomas fan and I do not have it yet in large scale. But yeah, I'm never collecting the large scale at all. That's the only scale that I'm never collecting. Like same thing, like since I'm never gonna collect Z scale and I'm never gonna collect since I'm never gonna collect Z scale and I'm never gonna collect S scale. If I'm not collecting those two scales, which Z scale and S scale, there are no Thomas items in S scale and Z scale, that I'm not going to be collecting the large scale at all. But yeah. But even though you got a whole entire Thomas and Friends collection in large scale for large scale G scale of Bachman, that I'm just not getting interested in. Like, I'm not having any interest at all, folks, like getting into like large scale at all. So yeah, basically once I have the HO narrow gauge of Skarloey in them and N scale Thomas and Friends of Bachman, once I have those, I'm gonna basically, that'll mean that I'll have like Thomas trains and all the scales that they have to offer out there for Thomas model trains. I'll have them all in N scale, HO narrow gauge, which is also N scale, HO scale still, and O scale. Except the only one that's going to be left out will be large scale. Only large scale is going to be left out, as large scale also has Thomas as well. But S scale and Z scale do not make Thomas at all. So yeah. So that's that, folks. And yeah, no, there's definitely a lot to look forward to. And yeah, 2025 is gonna be the year. And as for and like I said, folks, that like once I start collecting N scale and everything, I already said what the deal was gonna be and everything, what the plans are. That what was I gonna say? But yeah, so basically that the only scale that's gonna be left out is gonna be the large scale of Thomas and Friends. The entire large scale collection of Thomas and Friends of large scale Bachman. That's the only scale of Thomas and Friends that's going to be left out, is the large scale, because A, I'm not interested in the large scale, and B, I just Like I'm just not interested in the large scale at all. But even though it's cool to look at. I like how nice and big it is and everything. Like it is bigger than O scale, but no, honestly, I'm just not into it at all. But you never know. Maybe in 10 or 20 years, I could start collecting the large scale as well in 10 or 20 years from now. And if I ever do collect the large scale, folks, that if, when, and if I ever do collect a large scale, if I ever do decide to collect a large scale, that'll mean that the first one I'm going to be collecting on a large scale will be the entire Thomas and Friends. Yeah, it will be the entire large scale collection of Bachman Thomas and Friends large scale that I will be collecting first. And once I have the entire collection of Thomas and Friends large scale Bachman, once I have the entire collection of that, then possibly I could start collecting some non-related Thomas items too. That's in large scale as well. But you never know though, folks. But I'm just saying that though. I'm just like saying that though. I mean, I could be like that. I could do that. But honestly, folks, it's like a less than 1% chance that I'm. It's a less than 1% chance that I'm gonna be collecting them. Because if I ever collect the large scale, if I ever collect the large scale, G scale, whatever you call it, some people call it G scale, some call it large scale, that if I ever do collect it, then yeah, if I ever collect it, folks, yeah, if I ever collect it, if I ever collect the large scale, yeah, if I ever collect the large scale, if I ever collect the large scale, then the first items of large scale I will be collecting are the Thomas and Friends large scale collection of Bachman Thomas and Friends large scale. Yeah, and once I have collected the entire large scale collection of Thomas and Friends large scale Bachman, once I have collected that whole entire collection that are discontinued, currently on sale and maybe coming out in the future, that once I have done that with the entire Thomas and Friends collection of large scale Bachman, once I have collected all those items, then then possibly start collecting some non-related Thomas items in large scale as well. But that all right there is a less than 1% chance if I will ever do that. Because it's a 99% chance that it's never going to happen. It's a 99% chance that it's never going to happen. And if it does happen that I get into the large scale, that I'm collecting the whole entire Thomas and Friends large scale collection first of all those items first, and then after then start collecting the non-related Thomas trains in large scale. But yeah, that's a 99% chance that it's not happening and a 1% chance that it will happen. And if it does happen, it'll be rare if I change my mind about collecting the large scale. And if I do, it probably won't be in like the next 10 or 20 years from now, maybe 15 years, I don't know. But yeah. But for now, I'm not getting into the large scale at all. So just so everybody's aware. And also too, you know what? Now I gotta go back to N scale for a second. For Thomas and Friends N scale, I see that they already made a Toad in N scale. That if they already made a Toad in N scale, they should make an Oliver in N scale. So yeah, they should make an Oliver in N scale, folks. Since they already made a Toad in N scale, they should make an Oliver in N scale as well. And for Bachman should make Oliver. Yeah, Bachman should make N scale. Ivan Oliver. Yeah, Bachman should make Oliver in N scale since they already made Toad in N scale. Bachman should make yeah, Bachman should really make Oliver next year or in 2 years, just because they already made Toad an N scale, which is Oliver's brake van. And for HO scale, they should make for HO scale Bachman, they should make Nia and Hero. Those I would like to see them make. And yeah, so that's that, folks. And yeah, so alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. And yes, leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to January 15th. It's gonna be a big day for all us Thomas fans. And yeah, so and yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to. So yeah, alright guys, leave a like and subscribe. Peace out.